Welcome to Happily Ever After, the podcast where we talk about life's big stories. From breakups and breakdowns to icky secrets and happy endings, it's the stuff that makes us human. I'm your host, Hannah Harvey. I'm a writer and a parenting blogger at mumsdays.com. That's mumsdays.com. I'd be really grateful if you could subscribe and leave a review because it basically means more people can find the podcast. And I also really love hearing from you, so please do contact me through Instagram at mumsdays with any of your stories really and you know how you relate to the episode or even questions that you may want answering. You can find all the details from this episode in the show notes. Hello and welcome to Happily Ever After with me, Hannah. Today I'm joined by my very good yogi friend. We both did yoga teacher training together, Sean. Hi, Sean.
Hello. Hello.
Hi. Now, Sean is, I mean, where do I even start? You've got very many talents. But yes, I do. One of them is a deep self-confidence.
The ability to shine.
You definitely do. But you're an incredible body worker. I remember the time you released the womb troll from my womb.
Oh.
Do you remember that? You were working on my neck.
Yeah. How did I get down there?
I don't know. Yeah. So quickly, body work is, well, how would you explain it, Sean?
Oh, do you know what? I've written a really good description about it once. And did I?
You're going to find it for me.
What is body work? A delightful concoction of massage, meridians and pressure point work, intuitive healing infused with Reiki and energy work. Body work can assist with injury, stiffness, physical rehabilitation, psychosomatic healing, stress release, to name a few. Oh, that isn't the full one.
That's good though. I mean, that gives you a feeling for it.
One.
So it's a bit like you're working with pressure points that you would with if you went for acupuncture, but just without needles.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Yeah. And it's very, it's quite spiritual. So you're combining like these different points with healing work and Reiki. Yeah. So that's what you were doing on me, and you're excellent at that. But you also, we have light workers. And you're what would be described as a shadow worker, like a really happy one.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's like the sarcastic laughing, ha ha ha.
But do you know what? You have such a calming energy that if you were going to go to a dark place with anybody, I'd want to be doing it with you. Yeah. So that's probably, no, you're welcome. Please come and do some body work on me.
Please come.
Yeah, come now. So I guess I ended up getting into all this kind of stuff because I was going through divorce and already in a bit of a shit place. And I guess you naturally start being like, how have I ended up here? Why is this happening? But some people might be like, what the hell's shadow work? Like, what does that even mean?
Right.
And so if you were going to do a workshop with you for the first time, what can people expect?
Oh God. Well, it's totally unique to the experience. But so shadow work comes from Carl Jung's psychology, so you got Freud and Jung.
Okay.
The two big headliners at the time. And Jung was all about the kind of shadow aspects of things. And it's almost the qualities of people that are suppressed so much, and then layers upon layers upon layers. And then it's all pushed down, and then eventually it just kind of has to come out. Because it's so one example that I remember is, say, a young lad, say 5 or 6 year old, and we're set a very 1970s Northeast family.
Is it you?
Dad's
Sean?
a minor, mum's a stay-at-home mum type of thing.
Okay.
So you got this young lad, kind of like the Billy Elliot thing.
Yeah.
You know, so he's like, oh, I'm a dancer, and his dad's like, well, I'm a minor, so don't do that thing in front of me.
Uh-huh.
But imagine that Billy Elliot's dance was suppressed. So it's like, I don't want you to be like a performer, blah, 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 and I don't want the neighbours talking. You're not dancing in the street. Suppress that. You're going to be a minor like me, because my dad was a minor, my granddad was a minor, we're minors, pub.
Yeah.
Like, you know, that kind of thing. Now imagine like you got to 14, that dancer who then became like a world famous dancer, imagine that was just that suppressed, what that would do to you.
So they had gone on to become the minor and go to the pub, and they had never
gone to the pub and did that. Imagine that level of availability of energy that was just suppressed, and then something happens, and then you just have this massive breakdown, and then the dancer part comes up as well. So that's like dealing with shadow work is kind of going down to kind of reintroduce yourself to the dancer. But the dancer's not like going to come straight out. They're like, no, because you put like 100 walls in the way.
Oh my God.
So you're going to have to rebuild a relationship with me before I come back out. Because it's like it's inner child stuff.
Yeah.
And you can't convince a child to do anything that they don't really want to do, especially if you do nothing but suppress them.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what shadow work is. But like on a workshop, like one exercise I found really helpful, it was like listing all the major archetypes, the major characters in your life growing up. So you'd have like your mum and your dad, or your aunt and uncle, or foster parents, or guardians, or whatever. So you start with that kind of list, and then you go down maybe like grandparents or neighbours that looked after you, and all of these people. Then you'd pick a few that you want to work with that day. Like, you know, I like asking, have you got mum or dad issues? That's like one of my questions whenever I'm dealing with someone. They're like, that's too big of a question. I'm like, okay. So what I'd say is like, what level do you want to work with today? So it might just be the neighbour that was kind of nice, but did this thing that really annoyed you. So you can just work on that level.
Okay.
And then you list all of their good qualities and all of their bad qualities. And then what you had to change around that person that you had to suppress. So around the dad, you wouldn't have done the dancing. Where around your mum, they quite like creativity. So the artistic stuff could come out.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So then it's kind of like revisiting that situation and then going, was that something that they didn't want to happen to me? Like the northern dad didn't want me to be a dancer because of their idea of what's going to happen in the public or in the public eye.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't want me to get bullied, and they didn't want someone talking about them in the pub. And then it's like visiting all of these things.
And I guess looking at it with fresh, grown-up eyes.
Because, as a kid, when you're told, don't go near the fire, you haven't got the experience to know why you're not allowed to play near the fireplace at 3. Where when you're like a 28-year-old adult, you probably burnt yourself a million times, and you kind of go, don't do it.
Don't touch the ball of fire.
When you tell the 18-year-old, don't go out with that lad. Why? Because he's just not the one.
He's the ball of fire. I'm still working through that.
You're like, please don't have him as a boyfriend. Why? Oh, you'll find out.
Yeah. It's funny. I sent somebody a gif of there's like a dog sitting in a room of fire, and I'm like, yeah, I'm the dog and you're the fire. And I'm still in it. You're like, this is still quite fun.
Yeah.
Why? So I guess that's the stuff you're looking at when you're doing your shadow work.
Yeah, and it's having those like intelligent eyes to then look at the situation and kind of go, oh, maybe that was for my greater good, or maybe they were doing the best that they could at the time, or what they had available. And then they get to a point when you kind of go, oh, is that because of their parents' thing? So like it gets to a point where it is the mum or the dad, or that that archetype. Because you said about the maiden. So you get the mother or the father, and you get to the point where you're like, were they doing the best that they could with what they had available to them and with the lessons that they had available? Or are they just psychopaths? and then, but even with that information, you can kind of go, oh, I can just let that go. And you can stop feeding into an energy there that isn't necessary. Like going over a situation in your head continually for years and years and years isn't beneficial to you, really. Like,
yeah, at one point, can you go, I process that now, I'm done?
Yeah. Takes a while. It's not easy. But the worst thing to do is cover it in love and light all the time.
Yeah.
All the, like bits of it's fine.
It is scary.
You can't just go, I wholeheartedly forgive all people on all levels all the time. You're like,
Yeah, you need to do it all the time. You need to constantly be like, all right, I forgive you for that, even though it's still pissing me off. Like, can you, I remember when I first started doing therapy, I was like, oh God, I really don't want to do this. Like, it just feels like you don't know what you're going to find and if it's going to be too much that you can't get back out.
That's a scary bit. Yeah. But if I go down the rabbit hole, can I reintegrate into real life?
And then the other side of it.
Did you find any bits?
Oh, yes, so much. But I was going to say the what?
Go.
I was going to say the other side of it is you think, I don't even have any problems. Why am I doing this? Like compared to other people.
Oh, grand scheme of things.
Yeah. Like I had a conversation with somebody recently who was like, one of the stories that I like a strong memory of mine is when a woman refused to give me a hot dog. And it stayed with me for a long time that I was like, nobody stood up for me. I didn't stand up for myself. And I got told off. So I have this little thing around like, I'm never going to stand up for myself. And I feel it, like I can feel it in my body even now talking about it. And it's like, it was just a fucking hot dog. Like somewhere around my hips and womb.
Right.
And it's like, and really, the woman was just a bit of a bitch. Like I was a 3-year-old girl asking for a hot dog which didn't have sauce on. But I was talking to a friend about it, and she's like, there could be that's not really a bad memory. Like there could be many, like you definitely grew up with many worse memories than that. And yet, for me, but
it's also like it doesn't matter what it is, because I've met and worked with people who have got things that have happened to them, which is much worse. It's almost like film quality versions.
Horrific, right?
Horrific, and they're there and they're quite functioning. I'm like, right, okay, so like I'm like, how are you still able to be happy in the world?
Yeah.
But it's so the hot dog story, don't discredit it just because you are now like old enough to kind of reflect back on it and you're like, well, it was only a hot dog. Because that adds to like a layer of shadow work, because you're kind of going, oh, it was kind of a bit pathetic that I'm thinking that I'm still bothered about the hot dog. But it's like, what was happening around that? And was it you weren't being heard? Was it that no one was standing up for you? Was it? So it's almost the things that surround it that are important, not so much the story.
Yeah. Like there's always...
So you don't want to kind of go like, oh, why am I still thinking about that? It's like pathetic. And then you kind of go, is not being heard pathetic? No.
Yeah.
It's not. And no one's standing up for you. If there's it's not really misjustice or anything, is it? Because it is a hot dog.
At the end of the day, I was a little bit hungry.
malnourished. Like, no. Like, it's not like, oh, please, I just want some food, anything. It was, yeah. But still, there's bits of it that probably need revisiting. And around the hips and things, it's quite often pre-verbal. But I mean, at 3,
I was probably
talking.
2 actually, but yeah, it would have been around verbal's time.
Verbal time.
But maybe not verbal enough.
It could still, I mean, you wouldn't be able to articulate things fluently around 2. And if you're around a load of adults, you kind of like, if you're the child, you kind of just put to the side for a bit, aren't you? It's not like integrated in conversation, so they're probably just like, oh, she just wants a hot dog.
That greedy little girl.
Who were you with at the time?
I remember my dad eating the hot dog I was given with the ketchup on, and I didn't like ketchup, so he took it, and then I went back to get another one.
Did you get the other one?
No, she wouldn't fucking give me one.
Oh.
She pointed at me and said, "You've already had one."
Oh.
But I mean, it's like obviously pathetic, I get it, but it's just interesting to be that you will go into your therapeutic process being like, I've only got a bunch of pathetic stories going on, there's nothing to look into, but
don't call your traumas pathetic, because like it just doesn't help. It doesn't help. It doesn't help them, because like imagine that's like imagine the trauma is like a child in a room. But like it's almost got the intelligence of your age now. So you've got this like dualistic person in a room, and you go, "Oh, I'm just going to go deal with this pathetic situation," and then they're like, "No, come back in 6 months' time when you're like, oh, okay."
When you stop calling me pathetic, and you would like acknowledge.
You stop calling me. I'm not coming out of this room to deal with you until you stop calling me pathetic, because it's not helpful. And you're like, oh yeah, okay. So, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Trauma.
Yeah.
But that is what you go into these processes thinking, like, my problems aren't the same as other people's, when actually we need to acknowledge that they're still mine, and I'm not going to be able to progress the way I want until I deal with them.
Yeah. Well, I was in the car yesterday with Jambo, and we were chatting, our teacher, when we were chatting about like the way we like first world problems, because he's just been over in Indonesia, versus third world problems, and he's just like, sometimes I think some of the people could really do with that going into the third world for a bit, and then it would almost give us a different perspective of how to deal with our problems, because like you're looking around and these people are just like diving through piles of rubbish, and they're still quite happy, and you're like, oh yeah, God, like my problems, like I'm holding on to some of these problems and dealing with them and dragging them out for all they're worth, and really there's like much worse situations in the world. Like, we can afford therapy.
Yeah. And
it's not like cheap. But say, I don't know, my therapist is, I think, 50 quid for an hour. 50 quid to someone that's in Indonesia on the street would probably like pay their rent for a month.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, okay, I should just deal with my problems because there's people out there that literally can't.
Yeah, let's stop dragging it out. We're not going to call it pathetic, but we're also not going to drag it out as long as it needs to be.
Yeah, and you have to, I've got to a point, like I've dislocated both of my shoulders. And then I used to use this as an excuse so much when doing yoga. And I'm like, I can do a fucking handstand.
Yeah.
Stop dragging out these injuries. If you can do a handstand, there is nothing wrong with your shoulders. And I had to kind of drop the story. Like, yeah, they've dislocated. That was a long time ago. If you can do a handstand, shut up.
Nice.
And I had to get to that point with myself as well, with dealing with my own trauma. Because it's like, well, I've sat and dealt with it. I've rehabbed my shoulders. Mm-hmm. They're fine. They're fine now. Like, what else do you want to be able to do with them? If
You're
it's
like, oh, I
not,
better not twist just in case it pops out.
yeah. What a drama queen. What a drama queen.
Drama. So you mentioned there the maiden. So in last week's podcast, I was talking to Katie about my epiphany after getting in the water for 21 days.
Yes.
I spoke to Jambo as well. He was on one of the episodes, which we'll link to.
Yep.
I spoke to him about it, about the significance of 21. And
Yep.
he was saying, oh, maybe it's a special number specifically for me. So I should try doing things daily for 21 days and see if anything else pops up. But that's by the by. The thing that came up that day was all around the maiden archetype. And when I spoke to you about it, you said, oh, that would happen. You would have a big processy day because you're really watery.
You are.
So I thought we could talk about elemental theory, because when I thought about getting you on, I was sweeping my backyard and you came to mind, Earthy.
Well, while shifting dirt around the floor, Sean came to my mind.
Genuinely did. Because to me, what earthy means is being homey, and like I'd never swept that yard once and I've been there for like nearly 2 years. And it was like, oh, this feels really nice to like take care of my space. And I just thought we could firstly talk about the different elements and what they mean to each of us. But then also maybe look at it from the point of view of if you are coming out of like something traumatic, like a relationship or something, what you can kind
Well, like how to nurture your element.
Yeah, or nurture what's going to help you get through, I guess.
Yeah. Well, it's...
So we'll start with like the elements anyway. So there's like wood is like taking action, isn't it? And being maybe a little bit stubborn.
Are constantly in growth. So it's like a tree. But it's also, you know, that, have you seen that picture, the tree in like, it's almost like a cave, but it's like the Nevada desert. And it's like, there is one thin beam of light coming in. And the tree is like, I will find my way to that one beam of light. So they have this like need to grow, but they're strong, variably flexible. Like
they're flexible because when you're overly woody, you can be quite stubborn and stuck in your ways, I think.
They need, they're flexible enough to know where to grow,
but not necessarily if your way's different to that way.
No, because they're like, that's where the light is, I'm going that way.
Yeah, you can come with or you can fuck off.
Yes. So like woody people, and it's almost like in their body type as well.
Yeah.
So like I'm right earthy, I'm like chunky, it's like wide, it's like all earthy. Where those that have got like, you know, these like thinner arms, you can see all the veins and the muscles and everything's like, they almost look like branches of a tree.
Yeah, strong.
That's the kind of like earthy,
Isn't it strong eyebrows?
Eyebrows are like liver energy, but yes, could be. I'm not entirely sure on that. But like, if your eyebrows have gone really sparse, you've depleted liver energy.
Okay. I've got really sparse.
But yeah, right around the eyes. Like if you've got really sharp, pointy eyes, that's fire.
Yeah.
I think eyebrows would probably be wood then. Yeah.
I think it's if you've got quite pronounced strong eyebrows. But anyway, so we've got wood. The next is fire, which I am a bit fiery as well as watery.
You are fiery because you're very productive.
And it's that sort of creative, fun energy, isn't it? And running around. Like we were saying, Jambo's fiery. So for him...
Jambo's, he's fire.
He would
he's really good when he's in active, creative, fun, big, shiny energy. Like it's like it's where he's at his best is that like the fire pit and then people surrounding and it's just going. It's like that's
Yeah, like it's in flow.
But
You
like,
don't necessarily need to over prepare.
no, like Josie's quite fiery as well.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, and Natalie's like woody and fiery and a bit metallic actually.
Yeah.
So like everyone's a combination of them all.
Yeah, so the
Like
next,
so
so just to give the full picture, then you've got
oh yeah,
Earth, which you are, and I feel like
I'm Earth.
people bring Earth out in me. So
Okay,
if I'm with people, it makes me earthy because I'm like, how can I nurture and look after you? And like, what
okay,
can I do to make you feel good? So people, I think when I step into yoga, Hannah, I get really earthy and people are like, oh, your voice is really soothing. And I'm like, come on in, come in. I want to like wrap you up in blankets, that kind of thing. And then we've got metal, which is the part of you that's always trying to improve, isn't it? It's like you can critique
yeah,
and go
yeah.
round and
It's
round and
like
round.
critical thinking, and it's very like black or white. You see, like all the lines around here in my house, like my
Yeah.
house is like black, white, and grey, and it's all like straight lines.
Mm-hmm.
My house is quite metallic, and it's in greys and whites and blacks, and
Yeah.
it's
Where
just
are
like
your earthy features?
don't need it because I am Earth.
You are
But
a
my house, like
personification.
I have no order in my like. If I didn't have a metal house, there'd be no order. Like I
Yeah.
need somewhere to go to like do my accounts, otherwise they would never get done. So I need metal space. Otherwise, if
Interesting.
I ended up living in like an earthy house, it would be those like gypsy
You'd
shacks
be in the
in the middle of the
woods
woods. In the woods,
and like in a
you would
tree
never
root.
see me again.
No.
You'd like like I'd be so Super Earth would be that off-grid log cabin living, and if I
Oh,
had that, you'd never see me because I'm already
yes.
too heavy. You'd have to come and visit me in the woods and
And
leave
then we
me
wouldn't be able to
in a
find it anyway.
box a million miles away from where I am, and then I just send like a carrier pigeon or something. So no, I need metal to bring some order to my life. And then I need to do
Interesting.
fiery things. Like I
To,
need to go to a forest yoga class.
yes.
And I'll kick off and complain about it throughout the whole class,
Mm-hmm.
but I know I need it.
Yeah. Oh, that's really cool. And then the other one is water. So that's to do
Water.
with being in flow and being at one with yourself.
It's emotion. Yeah. So like in tarot, it'd be the cups. So it's all about like the emotional state of being and being in flow and being adaptable, but like presently adaptable.
Yeah.
So you can kind of like resettle things.
Mm-hmm.
Like water always finds its way.
Yeah. And if you have too much water, you become arrogant. I seem to recall.
Yeah.
I've got it all written down in a book somewhere, but
Yeah.
okay, so those are all the different bits.
Mm-hmm.
And I just find it really interesting in general, but I guess like it's hard to necessarily know which one you are more of.
Yeah. So finding like a practitioner would be good, but you can also like there's visual things and then there's like personality traits. So somebody that's really emotional that when something like sad happens, they just go and they cry it out and then then they're in their factory reset. That's like a good watery person. That's how they process
That's 100%
something.
what I did last week.
Yeah. And then somebody that's like predominantly fiery would probably need to go to the gym and like burn off this. And that's how they would process like overstimulation or over things. They just need to go and burn something off. Or even like physically around fire or be just do something really sweaty and things like that.
Because if you
Metallic
get
people
too
would,
fiery, though, you go a bit manic. So if you're in
yeah,
that phase of feeling like, fuck, I don't even know where I'm going or what I'm doing, I'm just so manic and running around, that's when you need to
burnout.
well, burn out, but then I would say also do some earthy things.
Yeah,
So
you need to
meet
find
some
balance.
friends, or like, go and eat with people and be with
Go
people
eat
and
cake.
wrap yourself in like blankets and just try and like down regulate a little bit as well.
Yeah, so there's like the way the star of the elemental stuff works. So like a fire, if a fire's burning, you don't want to chuck water on it because you put the fire out.
Yeah.
If you put metal near fire, it's going to bend.
Amount,
If you
yeah.
put wood near fire, it's just going to add to the fire. But if you put fire on earth, it's going to sit there and you've got a bonfire. So like me and Jambo work together quite well because he's like fire and I'm earth and I'm like, cool, we'll just bonfire.
Just hang out
We'll
together.
work together really well. If you have like fire and water, the water person has to then change. They'll either evaporate or they'll douse the fire. Sometimes that can be like if they're both in
Mm.
their place. It's so there's like the complementary way that it works. Like water and metal work together quite well because like if water's evaporated, it sits on metal and then kind of returns into droplets,
Yeah.
or it can be in a container. And then water works well with wood because it feeds the trees. Water feeds the trees. Um, Wood and earth work together quite well. Yeah, there's complementary
Yeah.
circles of things.
Well, I've got an image for that so I can share it in the show notes so people can be like, what the hell are they talking
What?
about?
What? Yeah.
Oh,
There's like
I love it all. I find it, guess it's similar to like when you do a personality test and you're like, oh my God, that completely explains who I am and why I do things. I love it when you feel a little bit understood.
what I did one the other day with Vic. Is it the Myers?
Myers-Briggs.
Myers Briggs, and I forgot what. I think I'm a
I know I
projector
can
now.
never remember what I am, but I know I'm an extrovert, that's for sure.
I remember reading it. I was like, oh, that is me. Me and Vic are the same.
Are you
So
really?
we're like really good assistants in things. Like
Earthy. She's metally as well, though.
yeah, yeah. But we're the same Myers Briggs thing. So it's like yeah. So we're good at like
Interesting.
looking after things.
I bet I'm not
Yeah.
that. So, are you an introvert or extrovert?
Well,
That's literally the first letter.
I'm like yeah. I'm a bit. I'm like an extrovert introvert. Like I really like and I need some like alone time. But then if you put me in a room and I need to just like be the center of attention for a bit, that's fine.
Oh, that's you can still be introverted and do that.
Yeah, I think
It's the
I'm like that.
requirement for alone time that counts. Like if I sit on my own in a room after about an hour, I'm like, right, going out. I can't do this anymore.
Oh no, I can do like 4 days. I need one day a fortnight. I've figured out where I'm literally get a bodywork mattress on the floor and I lay there for like 4 hours. I'm like those Hoovers that need to just find home to recharge. You know, I'm just like scoot back in. I'm like, goodbye world, and I'm just like leave me alone to recharge. So yeah, I'm pretty introvert then.
That is hilarious.
I
There'll
just
be
know what
mums
I need.
listening to this going, I remember a time when I used to be able to lie in a corner. Bless.
How do introverts have kids?
I don't know.
Because you have to go to the school in the morning, twice a day, or have a yeah. Like you have to like. I'm sure someone speaks to you in the playground.
They do.
Can you drop your kids off with sunglasses and headphones on?
I mean, you can.
That would be me then. I'd
You'd
have to
have
do
to
that.
really like not mind what other people thought of you.
I don't. I'd go in like full fancy dress every morning, headphones, sunglasses. I'd even have the kid with sunglasses and headphones. Just be like, let's go.
But yeah, I think it's really important, especially then if you're a mum, to make sure that you're creating that space to be on your own if you're an introvert. Otherwise, you're just going to go
Absolutely.
crazy.
Well, it's not feeding your element.
Yeah.
Like, it's going back to like the way elements work. It's just like if you're not doing that thing, like the sacrifice that you'd need to make. That's, yeah. I mean, the elemental stuff and then becoming a parent must be really tricky because, like, say you are really earthy, that's like parties feeding the community, and you just want everyone around a table and everyone happy. I love feeding people. I'm a really good cook.
Yeah, you are.
And I'm almost like in my happy place when I'm doing that. And if things are in the way and I can't, even if I go to an Airbnb and there isn't a good knife, there's part of me that starts having a breakdown. I'm like, I can't cut onions well. This food isn't going to go okay.
But I've
So, like,
seen how you travel, and you basically take your kitchen with you. So you've overridden that situation.
I have now, but then when I go abroad, I'm like, okay, can I have a knife?
Like, I can't cut with this.
I can't take Sabatier knives through hand luggage at the airport because
They don't like it.
It's a 10-inch blade and I'll get done for terrorism.
They don't like it.
No.
I'm surprised you get through hand luggage with some of the stuff you do take. So, yeah.
My my stones, the amount of times I get stopped with the shamanic stones, they're like, "What are these?" I'm like, "Don't touch them."
I really wouldn't recommend you touch that.
You can you can swab them. There's nothing on there. Don't touch them. They're like, okay, you just get through with it.
Oh. So tell me what you're up to over the summer. How can people work with you and see you and do
festivals? Festivals, and I'm starting the Reiki training tour.
Ooh.
So working with the medicine Buddha, so it's going to be traditional Reiki.
I'm wearing blue.
Wearing blue, lapis
for medicine Buddha.
Mm-hmm. So it's going to be medicine Buddha based Reiki. So you don't need to be Buddhist because medicine Buddha doesn't require empowerments. But it's Reiki with a cool flavor. So I'm going to be doing that in different places in like Swansea. Definitely going to do something because I'm up in the northeast in July, so I might put some on at Natalie's. I will put some on at Natalie's.
Good.
Do something there.
Up in Corbridge.
And then see where else comes up.
Nice.
But yeah, it's lots of festivals that I'm doing stuff at the moment.
Lush. And you do one-to-ones as well, don't you?
Yeah.
So what can people do with you one-to-one wise?
Psychomagic readings. So tarot with triggering prescriptions.
Excellent. Who doesn't love that?
Deliberately triggering.
Do you remember when I first met you? I was like, "Oh, will you do me?" And you were like, "Absolutely not." No.
Not where you're at the moment. It's like you've got enough going on. Yeah, you were in the high point of your divorcing, I think.
Yeah.
And just starting yoga teacher training. So you already had enough triggering stuff going on. I was like, I don't think I need to add to that fire. like you've got enough. You'll be okay. And then imagine like the last day of teacher training and you had to then go and smash a pumpkin on someone's grave. Like,
oh, that would have been a lot.
It would have been too much.
Too much, darling.
Exactly.
I mean, we were doing
and yeah, you don't need that all the time, but it's almost like when you're kind of at the point when you're like, oh, I keep on visiting this trauma or this situation, and I need to get over it.
Yeah, and you help people with that, don't you?
Then that's when it's like, okay, it's time. So for you, I'd say buy the hot dog fancy dress outfit.
Yeah.
And then go to like, where was it? Was this in Whitley Bay? Or where were you?
No, I was living in Scunthorpe or something like that at the time.
Oh, how
so like really very young. Oh, I know. These are my roots.
Dress up as a hot dog and give out hot dog without sauces to like 21 people. She's like 21's your magic number.
Who would like to see me do this?
Yeah. And then I think by that point you'd be like, and you just get over it. Because you're replacing the traumatic one with something that's like newly traumatic but fun.
So you're traumatizing yourself in a new way. And
but
then I'll be over
like,
it.
Adult perspective, you're like, well, I mean, did anyone die because I was in fancy dress and giving out hot dogs? No. So, yeah,
wise words. Sean is available for hire.
Sean is available for hire. Yeah, so psycho magic things, tarot, what else do we do? Reiki, but one-to-ones. I live in Somerset, so it's if you're near me, then yes. Or if I'm on the road. Body work. So if I'm traveling around places, if you see that I'm in your area, then I always do one-to-ones for body work.
You need to do me a little PDF of where you're going to be. You know, like a touring comedian. One of those, and then I can attach it to the show notes so people know where you're going to be. And then if they want to hire you to come and release their womb trolls, you can do that, or get them to dress up as a hot dog. In all honesty, I would, like, Sean is an absolute magician, so if he's near you, I would get him to come and put his hands on you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm not sure what we talked about, but it was bloody fascinating.
That was good fun. Yeah.
I really appreciate it. Thanks, Sean.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. All right, then. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you again next time for another episode of Happily Ever After with me, Hannah. It would be amazing if you could leave a review and subscribe. And of course, if you've got a friend who might enjoy this episode, please do pass it on. For anything else, you can get in touch with me through Instagram at mumsdays, or by my website, mumsdays.com. And did you know that I've got a newsletter? So it's the best way to stay in touch and to make sure you don't miss any podcasts or any freebies or competitions that we're running. And again, you can sign up to that through the website.